This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav and Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you Bleav? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available in your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcasts on Twitter.
Oh gosh, it's happening. It happened. It's gone down. Like, I know you just saw me. I know you just saw me like 2 hours ago, but we're back. Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast emergency session. Had to get this in. If you don't know, if you're living under a rock, huge news just happened in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears just completed a trade where the Panthers will be receiving the #1 overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Skylar Callahan, Jonathan Stewart, unable to join us today for the special episode, although they might pop in a surprise somewhere along the line here before we're said and done. Instead, I had to go and grab some heavy hitters. Kevin Avery from the 4-Man Rush. You may know them. They are fantastic in terms of game day analysis, film analysis, podcasts. They're all over the place when it comes to Carolina Panthers. If you're a Carolina Panther fan, you probably are well aware of who they are. And then I wanted to get somebody from the other side. So we went out and found Chris Krogman from the Bleav in Monsters podcast. I was just on with them a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of talked about this very thing. And we saw each other on Twitter like 20 minutes ago and was like, hey, let's do this because I'm trying to put this together. So Chris is in here with us right now. Of course, every time we're on, it's open mailbag. So if you want to talk about trade, talk about ramifications, talk about how it affects salary, anything like that, these two guys are the guys that you can ask these questions to. Before we get into any of that, though, of course, we get a quick word in from our friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline remains your #1 source for all your sports betting this season, everything from NFL and bowl season to esports. You always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. They're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your rewards. Bet online where the game starts. And and just Bobby, who was just in here with me 2 hours ago, saying I would have had to hack the pod for my "Tell Me Why You're Mad" segment if you ain't back. Des, yeah, I had to make sure I could get back here in time so we could do it. So you don't have to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad. I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
But I'm sure there's some people out there that are mad based on what's in this trade. Let's get into it here in terms of what the hell just happened. The Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bulls. I'm pulling up the screen here, and it's from Adam Schefter, so you know it's official. Compensation update for this trade, and then I'm going to let my guys loose here and explain to us what the hell just went on. The Bears, they're getting pick number 9 in this year's draft. Pick number 61. I think that's a 3rd round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Second.
Oh, so that's a late 2nd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
A 1st round pick next year in 2024. A 2nd round pick in 2025. And wide receiver DJ Moore, which we were told that Facebook is flipping out over that part of the trade. Let me start with you, Kev. On the surface, I don't even know what to ask. Like, who won this trade? Because to me, it kind of looks like both teams did okay. Because while the Panthers were giving up 2 firsts, they didn't have to give up a whole lot else except for a receiver they just extended last year.
Yeah, for me, when you look at the typical draft points trade value for the first pick, which is usually set at 3,000, we definitely came well below that with the picks that were involved. And to let you know, that 61st pick, Des, that's the one that we got from San Francisco for trading Christian McCaffrey. So that's where that pick comes in from. So again, when we traded McCaffrey, and you talked about this, this was to set us up to have enough picks for us to go pursue a franchise quarterback, and that's exactly that pick that I would have liked to have kept both, but hey, whatever got the deal done, I'm definitely there for. Again, glad we only gave up 2 first-round picks. I'm cool with the first-round pick next year. A second round in 2025.
Yeah,
that's good because if you look at the Panthers' future pending salary cap, whether you do over the cap or if you do spot track, we're looking lovely the next 2 years salary cap wise. So what we may not get in the draft, we're going to have the money to go after in free agency. So, like we've been saying in Panthers Twitter, F them picks, man. Go,
yeah,
go,
for real.
go let's move up and get it. And Des, you know how I got to give him credit. Monty been on this for months saying that this is what we need to do.
Yep.
They're like, nah, it costs too much. Ain't no way in the world. So shout out to my boy Monty of the 4-Man Rush, who
yes, sir.
he been saying this since like November.
He has. And people have been battling him on Twitter. Like, as soon as he puts it out there, and he has been persistent. Like, he has stuck to his guns. He's like, look, they need to do this. Why would they not do this? This is how you can do it. And to be honest, he was giving up more than what they gave up, pretty much. I mean, from what I remember, he was willing to give up almost the whole draft to pretty much go get it.
Right.
Now, Chris, now you are a host for the other side, Bleav in Monsters podcast on Bleav Podcast Networks that deals with the Chicago Bears. Give me your thoughts when you first heard of this trade, your thoughts in terms of how it helps your Bears going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Des. Thanks for having me on. And I remember we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and you didn't think that this was going to happen. You didn't think Panthers were going to make this kind of move up.
Yeah.
Bears fans, we're just looking for, pretty much anybody that had a quarterback need to jump in and talk to about what they thought their team would do or what their fan base would do. From a Bears perspective, we love it. I mean, I think, when we went into this offseason looking at what potential wide receivers the Bears could trade for, DJ Moore's name came up quite a bit. I think a lot of Panthers fans were like, yeah, good luck. You're going to need a first rounder. A lot of media folks thought first rounder for DJ Moore. So, it's not 3 first rounders, but essentially it kind of is if you think DJ Moore is worth a first round pick, which myself, I do. I like DJ Moore a whole bunch. I think he's super talented. I think Fields is going to love having him, a veteran receiver that's cracked 1,100 yards, 3 years in a row, I think you were saying, Kev. He's an absolute beast. Number 9 will be fine, because especially with the top 5 probably going to be a lot of quarterbacks and other positions taken. Is going to push some players down to that number 9 spot. Maybe even Jalen Carter, if they feel comfortable with his reckless driving or whatever it was. And then, next round first, late second this year, that's good. In a 2025 second, I know Poles wanted to stack picks. I've seen a couple things about Poles wanted more. Panthers wanted to give up a 25 first. Poles said, we want more. And they said, okay. And that was that. But yeah, I think Bears fans are stoked. I think this is a good deal. Good deal for both sides. Y'all sound super happy as well.
I think we've all, well, not all of us. I can't speak for everybody, but I know for me and for Kev, I think we've kind of gotten to a point where we kind of were thinking this might happen. And we were thinking this might happen based off of the coaching staff. Like when I was saying that I didn't think they should trade up, I don't see a quarterback I'd trade up for and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. We didn't know who the coaching staff was yet. So I had no idea what philosophy was going to be or what. Now that they finished fleshing out this coaching staff, and I know that Frank Wright is here, Josh McCown's the quarterback coach, Jim Caldwell is the senior offensive advisor. There's a system in place to really train a young quarterback up and down. And we were going through it earlier today on the earlier episode of Bleav in Panthers. Me and Skylar were looking at the top, I think 10 or 15 quarterback salaries in the league. It's very, very rare to drop a veteran quarterback onto a team and they win a Super Bowl. Usually more often than not, it's going to be a guy on a 5-year, first-year rookie deal. Usually the first couple of years of them playing, something usually along those lines. If it's like a Peyton Manning to Denver or Tom Brady to Tampa, or just more recently, what's his name with the Rams? Matthew Stafford to the Rams. But out of those 3 quarterbacks I just named, 2 of them are probably top 3 all-time quarterbacks. So it's very rare to go find a vet like a Derek Carr and he leads you to the promised land and lead in week 9 or year 9 or whatever. It's not very rare for a rookie quarterback to come in and within 2 or 3 years you're in the Super Bowl and you're on a rookie deal with it. So I'm cool with it. I can't speak with Kev. I think he's cool with it. I thought they were going to give up way more than what they gave up. And that was another reason why I didn't want to give up a bunch of those picks we just got for Christian McCaffrey. But it looks like, as I'm looking at the deal, you said the third round or the second round pick was one of those McCaffrey picks, right, Kev? Number
Right.
61.
Yeah. Pick 61. And I'm sure Chris would attest they had to make up because y'all gave up a first for Claypool, last year. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
When y'all traded with Pittsburgh, I was like,
They
I
needed
like Claypool, but I don't like Claypool first round pick for Claypool.
Right.
For me, I just didn't think that he showed enough to warrant that, especially when someone with the resume of a DeAndre Hopkins went for a second. Now if that was DeAndre Hopkins y'all got for first, then I would say yeah, definitely that was a good deal. But Claypool, no. So I think this was a good bounce back for you guys because in past deals, the trades have always been good with the Bears, with the Panthers. Greg Olsen back in the day.
Yeah.
It wasn't a trade, but we picked up. I think when y'all had Chris Harris, the safety.
Mm-hmm. Jeanette Tillman.
Oh man, the sledgehammer. He just for the
Moose.
peanut punch, he just was blowing guys up for the hell of it.
There wasn't a trade, but Moose went from Carolina to Chicago. Moose Muhammad
And came back.
So it's been kind of a
Peppers.
Peppers went to Chicago, came back. It's been kind of an underground railroad between Chicago and Charlotte in terms of players going back and forth, which is kind of nuts.
They had to taste of Chicago. We didn't start to taste of Charlotte. I'm saying we're working together here.
Yeah. Love it. And I'm happy for Justin Fields too, because my man was in a situation where he had nobody to throw to, and his name was getting batted around as maybe getting traded instead of that pick. And instead, now he's in a position where he can be the franchise quarterback for the Bears. They give him a 1,100 yard on average wide receiver, so immediately he gets a number one. Now they can build around with the other stuff with the picks they got. Meanwhile, Carolina has literally said, "Look, forget what you've known about quarterback play and quarterbacks in general in Carolina. This is a new era. We are not messing around." Literally, I've been saying it for 3 weeks. They are not messing around. And then they do something. I'm like, oh, they are really not messing around. And this was the cherry on top. They ain't messing around. They really ain't messing around. And I heard it earlier this morning that there was already an offer on the table. And I was like, that's probably Carolina because we've got the two first. I didn't think it was going to happen today. Tell me, guys, who do you think they traded up for? Because clearly they're going up to one because they've got – Fitterer was saying it at the combine and beforehand that if you fall in love with a guy, you do whatever it takes to go get him. Forget what everybody else is saying. If that's who you want, you go get him. And it looks like they know exactly who they want and thought he might not be there if they traded below it. So they went one, which makes me think it's one of two guys. I'll go around the table here. Who do you think the Panthers are trying to pick at one? Chris, let's start with you, looking from the outside in.
Yeah, at first I thought it was Bryce, but apparently the Panthers love CJ Stroud, and he showed out pretty well at the combine. He had a lot of accurate passes, so that could be the guy. I don't know which one the Panthers staff liked more, but Bryce Young really didn't compete at the combine or do any of his things. He was waiting for his pro day. Some Bears folks thought that the trade would wait until after the Bryce Young pro day just to, potentially get the price up even more. But I think going into free agency, Poles wanted the GM of the Bears wanted to get this done as soon as possible to set the table for free agency, get that wide receiver. Now they can go into free agency kind of with just a ton of room. Plus, DJ Moore's only $17 million a year or something like that for the next 3 years. That's cheap. Mm-hmm. For a guy.
I'd say for a top 10 wide receiver in the league, to be honest. Yep. He's almost like the league's best kept secret, because unless you report on the Panthers or you're a Panther fan or whatnot, or your team just played them, you probably don't even know DJ Moore has averaged 1,100 yards a season for his entire career. With how many quarterbacks did you say, Kev, before we came on? He's been with how many? 9?
With 9, yeah. He's with 9 already.
And none of them really good. It's amazing to me how he's been able to get this yardage because even last year, it didn't feel like he was really even getting targeted that much, and he still finished, on target with everything. So he's gone from Sam Darnold to Teddy Bridgewater. He had Cam right there at the very beginning, but an injured Cam Newton. He's had, Baker Mayfield throwing to him. He's had
Kyle Allen, Tyler Heineke, Will Greer. Yeah.
Wasn't it PJ Walker that actually got DJ going last year? He was kind of flat with Baker and Darnold.
PJ
that game in Atlanta. Yeah, that's where he went, because he went through that Hail Mary
Yeah, that
caught
bomb
at the end and got that bogus, excuse my language, ass
No.
called on the on the helmet.
And then
that
the NFL
was
apologized the next day. Like we had
Right.
2 games last year that we lost, that the NFL had to come out on Monday and apologize for a bad call that affected the game. It was that one, the Atlanta game,
And the
that
Cleveland
pushed them
game.
back like 20 yards or whatever for the extra point, and we missed it and it went overtime. And the Cleveland game, you're right, the Cleveland game where Jacoby Brissett, I think it was week 1, Jacoby Brissett fake spiked or something like that.
Yep.
And you're not supposed to do that. Refs didn't call it. Browns ended up winning the game. NFL apologized the next day. So we had 2 games where it was like we should have won and didn't. And I hate blaming refs, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, the refs messed up. So I mean, clearly they did some things that affected the record last year. You mentioned it earlier, Chris, but now that the Bears have the 9th pick, do you think they're done, or do you think they're going to move around some more for picks? Because they have a lot of holes to fill, right?
Ooh, for sure. They definitely have a lot of holes to fill. I think this is I think this is it until draft day at least, and then we'll see what free agency brings. We'll see how the first 8 picks shake out, and then now you might see another trade down. I mean, Poles traded down half a dozen times last year in the later rounds, so I have no doubt that he's not afraid to trade back if he feels like some guys are there that he still likes, but he didn't want to trade out of that blue chip prospect range. And if he has 9 guys that he kind of feels are blue chip prospects, or maybe he wasn't including the quarterbacks in that range, and he has 8 guys or 7 guys, if you want to say Young and Stroud are the only top 2 blue chip quarterbacks, maybe you see Levis and Richardson up there, especially after Richardson blew the combine out of the water. But I think right now they're probably going to stick at 9. Who they're going to take is really going to depend on how this board shakes out. If somehow Jalen Carter falls down there, you really have to see if the potential character issues are worth it. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Outside of that, a lot of people love the offensive lineman Skoronski from Northwestern. Fields needs people to block for him. A lot of folks like him. There's a lot of other defensive playmakers in this draft, Tyree Wilson and Brian Breesy, if those are guys Poles fell in love with. But for now, I think 9 looks pretty good.
Hitting the mailbag here, we got some guys checking in with us, some Bleav in Panthers faithful. Christian Hunt says, this has to be for Stroud. There's no way they moved up for a kid who didn't participate at the combine and likely won't weigh in at his pro day. I think referring to Bryce Young. Brad Thomas asked, what is the negative cap hit for the Panthers trading more? C. Prince down here below says, no cap hit for the Panthers this year since he was traded before the league year started. Is that correct, Kevin? As far as you know, or?
I'm still researching that. I don't want to just put it up. I'm actually researching this while we talk, because it's a very fluid thing with the salary cap, particularly when there's a trade involved, because this is going to be the year that DJ Moore's extension that he signed with us last offseason kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
So he was slated on the books to get $23 million. So if this is where the Bears accepted to take on the entire contract, then yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it. If he's got to go,
because even with that money, that's still a deal, because he only signed for us for like a 3-year, $61 million extension, which compared to what other wide receivers got, for his production, that was a long time deal. So
because they signed him early, I do remember that. It was last offseason. They got him early before like a couple other wide receivers cashed, like Tyreek Hill and like all those guys started cashing on those huge.
Christian Kirk got more than what DJ Moore got, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Man. Donald Duck says, I just bought a DJ Moore jersey this season, and I'm convinced our quarterback coach had something to do with this trade. I'm upset. What are you upset for? I mean, DJ Moore, I love him, but we can replace DJ Moore, to be honest. We can find a wide receiver that can get us 1,000 yards a season, like especially with this coaching staff. That's my whole thing. My whole outlook has changed with the Panthers going forward in the future because of who they have on the staff. Like, this staff might be the most well put together coaching staff, top to bottom, in the entire league. Like, honestly, in terms of experience, rings, everything. Like, I mean, whoever comes here is going to be in really good hands. So now it's, instead of me like, I don't know about CJ Stroud, I don't know about Anthony Richardson or whoever. Now I feel like you can bring in whoever. if they want him
Yeah.
and they like him, I'm confident that they'll be able to get whatever they want out of him. It also seems like I thought that maybe they're throwing up smoke screens regarding Anthony Richardson at the combine. They were like, it was coming out that they weren't as hot on him. Maybe those things were accurate because I think it comes down to Stroud or Young, right? Like if you're going up to one, the other quarterbacks, Levis, Richardson, they're going to be there past
Right.
2 or 3, right? Young and Stroud are the two where you don't know who's going one, and the Bears weren't going to pick quarterback. So it's who's underneath them? Who's at 2? Is it Houston?
Houston Texan, yeah.
Houston's picking
You know,
a quarterback.
they got a brand new coach, so he's going to start off with his guy, coming over. Even though they're saying that there's momentum for them to sign Jimmy Garoppolo or whatever because of who the offense coordinator is that that DeMarco Ryans brought over. But yeah, as far as the Panthers go with this selection or with this potential pick, if you look at Frank Wright's history, CJ Stroud kind of fits more of the build and mold what he likes as far as the type of quarterbacks here that he has developed. I know there's this stigmatism. Oh, he's from Ohio State. Oh, that's a one read offense and all this other stuff. Listen, I get it. A lot of Ohio State quarterbacks have not panned out successfully recently in NFL, but you got to take that on a case by case thing. You can't just lump them all together and just have that generalization feel like to be valid enough to look down on it.
I just realized from looking through the comments, and then Chris mentioned it in our private comment thing right before we came on the air. The past 2 guys I've had on the intro of Bleav and Carolina Panthers have been traded like this year, because originally it was Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of it, and then when he got traded mid-season, I had to change the open, and I changed it to DJ Moore, and now he's been traded. So like I literally have to change this again.
Just be careful who you put on there, man. Don't put anybody on there you want.
Yeah, keep Brian Burns off here, man.
No, I'm not putting Burns on him. I'm leaving him off. I'm trying.
Hey, but Dad, I got a quick update here for you. McColl now, Panthers are very heavily interested in free agent wide receiver from the Chiefs, McCole Hardman, and Panthers officials were at Odell Beckham Jr.'s workout today as well.
What are they doing? Like, what's happening? Like, what is going on?
Now that our salary cap has been helped immensely by this move, I really felt like that this is just a plan that they're following. The time is happening because illegal tampering can start. The legal tampering can start at midnight Sunday night. Technically Monday morning or whatever before free agency is official at 4 p.m. So.
Chris,
throw it out there.
Jeez, I'm like stunned that they're doing this. I think the best comment from because people have been commenting like, "Oh, you didn't want to trade before, blah blah blah," and I explain why. Will explains it. This ain't my old Panthers. They're making moves from coaching to the draft that is not like the old Panthers. And me, you and Kev, we've been here from day one. I don't recall any coaching staff that's come in here and done it like this. Like literally, kind of clean house in the way they did it. The way they hired the coaching staff, it was very thorough. It wasn't thrown together. There wasn't like a sense of I know more than you guys do. Like it's going to be like a team group type thing. Man, it's nuts. Chris, let me ask you this: from what you're seeing from everything going on, from the outside of the NFC, and to me, the NFC is wide open coming into this upcoming year. Like all the quarterback talents on the AFC side, and the NFC, it's. I don't know. Daniel Jones has got $160 million. You want to put him up there as a top quarterback in the NFL? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what are you seeing here in the NFC South in general? Because Derek Carr signed with the Saints earlier in the week. Now the Panthers moving up to number 1 overall. There's been some whispers about maybe Tampa taking a stab at Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. What are your thoughts with the NFC South? And if you were the Panthers, who would you pick at number 1?
I mean, it's wide open. And with Bears Twitter, the conversation has been Carolina might only be that quarterback away. I am a little shocked they'd give up a DJ Moore, regardless of what you think about DJ Moore, just a proven talent to catch the ball for a young wide receiver. or for a young quarterback, whoever that is. I think the Panthers have as good a shot as any of those teams. I do think Derek Carr to the Saints is interesting, but I've never thought Derek Carr was that dude. So yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I don't see the Bucs going after Lamar or Aaron Rodgers. I think that Aaron Rodgers to the Jets deal is pretty much done.
Yeah.
So yeah, the QB talent in the NFC is interesting. Geno getting a big deal, and it's a weird time. Dak, I guess, is one of the best ones in the NFC, and that's weak. Hurts is obviously baller.
Prescott, maybe, I guess.
Yeah,
whoever San Francisco trots out there, because it apparently don't matter who plays.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Shanny knows.
Just throw them out there, and they're gonna get the job done. Brock Purdy, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm looking around just in the NFC South. Before today started, it was Derek Carr. Kyle Trask was going to be the starter in Tampa. We only have two quarterbacks. Actually, I think we only have two contracts signed for quarterback.
Ritter in Atlanta.
Desmond Ritter in Atlanta. And then we had Matt Corral coming off a foot injury that didn't even play any regular season games this year because he hurt it in the preseason. And Jacob Eason. That was it, quarterback-wise, that we had on the roster. So we imagine they're going to bring in some sort of bridge quarterback, someone to start the season with, unless whoever they get at one just hits the ground running, which in today's NFL isn't that weird. A lot of times they will go ahead and let them go instead of holding them a year or whatever, like that old school Aaron Rodgers style there. I haven't decided who yet, but someone brought up an interesting proposition. I don't think they're going to do this, but someone brought up the idea of the Panthers not being done because they actually love two quarterbacks in this draft, not one, and to watch out that they may still trade back down a couple spots to pick up some of those picks back to someone else. I don't know how feasible that is. That sounds a lot real Madden-ish to me in terms of video game style.
Where's Kevin Costner? Kevin Costner with the draft day?
I don't think in real life it's going to work that way. I'm pretty sure if the Panthers traded all out a way to get to one, they're not going to look around to comp two of those picks back or whatever and move to three. They just would have dealt with whoever's at three, and not gave up DJ Moore, so I don't think that's going to happen. Man, any final thoughts on this? Because we just had to get in here to talk about this before it was old. I'll be on my morning show, The Rundown, with Desmond Johnson tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. with a full panel, and we'll talk all about this and other stuff around the NFL as well. And then, of course, Skylar and Jonathan Stewart, they'll be back with me next week, and we might end up doing an early week episode with both of them so I can get their reactions on this trade as well. Just final thoughts, guys, on this trade that I haven't even bothered to get on Twitter really since I walked through the door, but I'm sure it's going crazy right now in terms of what Panther fans are saying and everything else. Chris, I'm going to start with you. Give me your thoughts on this overall trade for your team, the Bears, and for the Panthers, and how do you think it helps both teams going forward in this weakened NFC?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I thought the Bears did great. I thought this was a good trade for the squad, moving back down to 9, getting a decent amount of picks out of it, plus an absolutely stellar wide receiver. In my opinion, I've always been a big DJ Moore fan, so I like it for the Bears. Sounds like it's good for Carolina as well. I think you guys are going to get the quarterback that you want, quarterback to build that team up around. I think young defense and strong defense in Carolina is going to go a long way. It'll all depend on what both teams do in the next, couple of weeks with free agency and then going into that draft. I would die if the Carolina traded down. That would just crack me up. That would just be crazy. But yeah, no, I love it. I love it for the Bears.
That's a Matt Rule thing. Like, he's not here anymore. Like, that's one of those things, you know what I mean? Like, that's actually, you know what? I didn't think I was going to have to put one of these in here today.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
That's one of the things that irks me when it comes to fans of football that aren't Panther fans, and they comment on the Panthers all the time, like they know the ins and outs. They'll be like, oh well, Panthers do this. They've been doing that for years, blah, blah, blah. This is not the same regime that was here before that was basically like incompetent. Like incompetence is actually too easy of a word to use for the the coaching staff that was here before. And then us finding out what they were doing after Rule was gone, like the things that were happening in the building. this is like a drink of cold water after walking through the desert. Like this is a second chance for this franchise. And like people that dismiss David Tepper as an owner, saying that, he's been messing up since he got here or whatever. The man owned up to his mistake, doubled down, went out and spent his own money to put together the best coaching staff money can buy. Like, if that don't spell dedication and I want to win right now, this trade that just happened, if that don't say, look, I'm in it to win it, I'm worth $17 billion, just make this thing happen. Like, that's the vibes he's giving off right now. So for those that are out there still trying to clown the Panthers because of what they did back in 1999 or whatever, or in 2005 when they did a trade and didn't work right, this is not the same regime. This is not the same regime. Kev, your final thoughts on this, man. Like you said, Foreman Rush has been talking about this for months. Monty's been the leader of it. I got to get him and Cody back onto a show maybe next week now to talk about how this has happened, because they've been battling for months on Twitter about this, and it actually went down. Give me your thoughts on this and what's going to happen going forward. Looks like Joe Person, actually friend of the podcast from The Athletic, is saying it's CJ Stroud is who they're going to go up for. So we'll see about that. But that smoke's been in the air. Give me your thoughts on this, Kev.
Yeah, well, for me, I think this is a win-win for both teams involved. I really feel like that this allowed Carolina to have the opportunity to, number one, select the franchise quarterback that they want. Number two, free up some much-needed salary cap space to possibly be more active in this upcoming free agency than what they may have originally thought they could be. And for three, I think that with this coaching staff and with the proper moves, I think that we potentially could be looking at trying to make some noise and be that dark horse team that come out of nowhere that no one expected, in the NFC, because as we just discussed, there's not a lot of powerhouse quarterback-led teams that would, get in the way. I mean, our own division is in flux. And, you win your division, you automatically got a home game, in the playoffs. And nobody's scared of Tony Romo. I mean, not Tony Romo, Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying?
Freudian slip.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Kirk Cousins going to be Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's just really no one out there. I mean, even as great as Jalen Hurts was, right. Even as great as Jalen Hurts was, I mean, with the type of defense we have, I would go to Philly feeling confident, here as well. So
it was just a year ago where people were saying Jalen Hurts couldn't throw, and look what he did in 12 months in terms of changing perception of his game. Like, things change fast in the NFL. I think the perception, like old school wise, that you needed 3-4 years to build a team and that kind of stuff. That's not true. The Rams built their Super Bowl team in like a year, like literally, like they flipped the roster around. You really only need, if you've got a base already and some coaches that actually know what they're doing, you can get this thing done in a year. And the Panthers have a pretty good base put together where, like they've been saying for 2 years, they just want to get in a spot where you can parachute a quarterback in there and you're off and running. I think they're almost there. I think they've done enough maneuvering where they're almost at that point where they could just drop in a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young it's one of those two.
Right. Because, Fitterer said all along, the ideal situation from him is to get a rookie quarterback on a 5-year deal where he can build around him. This definitely solidifies that, because now we could probably get that Brian Burns extension, which will give us more salary cap room. Upcoming Derek Brown, Jeremy Ken. Now all of that just becomes, becomes more in play to where we got this window before you have to, unload that $300 million quarterback and quarterback contract in 5 years. And that time.
Yeah, and that's why I think Lamar. It was weird because we talked about this earlier today. Like when Lamar got the non-exclusive tag, and then immediately following, there was like 6 teams that were like, "We are not going to be pursuing Lamar Jackson." And it was like, why are they saying anything? Why do they need to say anything? They don't have to say anything at all. And I think for the Panthers, maybe it was a sign telling Chicago, like, look, we're not in that over there. Like, we're with you. We're talking with you. We want that. We want that pick. Let's make this happen today before they figure out what's happening with Lamar, before what happens with Rodgers, before what happens with whoever else is out there. So shout out to the Carolina Panthers front office, man. David Tepper, Scott Fitterer, Suleiman, all those dudes that are up in there that don't get a lot of credit sometimes, they are up there making moves. So we'll
Hey, Des, Tepper really used those brass testicles he got on his desk today with this
did.
move.
He's been waiting for a while too. He was like, "Oh, y'all gonna talk about me?" He's like,
you know,
and
he's like Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Dave. You know,
King Kong on the whole league. He's just like, look, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and flex real quick. I wasn't doing it before. I was trying to be nice, but let's go on and make this thing happen. So, and I like he's not in the he's not Jerry Jones. He's not like up front, like taking credit for the trade. You know what I mean? Like Jerry Jones would be like, yeah, this is me. I did it. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pick this guy, and I love him. And we ain't seen David Tepper, but what, 4 times in like 4 years or whatever. He comes out, makes and leaves. Fine, cool. So we'll stop it right there. Willie, I know we moved to Fridays in the off season. I'm gonna try to see if the guys of Skylar and Jay Stu can actually do one earlier in the week, and if they do, again, subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. It'll give you a reminder when we put it in there. It'll tell you the time and the date that we're going to be doing it on. If not, then yeah, we won't be back till Friday, but I'm pretty sure they're going to want to do something before that. So keep your eyes on that. Keep your eyes on my Twitter at DEZ_3505, and we'll be able to let you know we're going to be back on. Follow Chris, the Bleav in Monsters podcast is at BIM_pod, POD. To get the latest info from over there. They'll be having some stuff out there as well. I may be on with them here soon talking about the same thing and getting some more insight as more details come out about this. You can follow Kev, 4-Man Rush online. It's 4, like the number 4 OUR Man Rush, right? So you can follow them there. They are a great follow if you're a Panther fan. And of course, you could follow Skylar, Sports Illustrated. He's probably in the back of an Olive Garden trying to write these articles right now about what happened while his in-laws are wondering why he's been in the bathroom for so long. And then and Jay Stu. So they'll be back next week. Man, just crazy day. Crazy day for Kevin Avery, Chris Krogman. This is Desmond Johnson. You've been listening and watching an emergency session of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast on Bleav Podcast Networks. Keep